Hi, GD class. I hope everyone is doing well. For this week, I'm excited to demonstrate some math problems for you guys from the GD exam and take a look at the geometry and the algebra in a way combined. And also, we're going to take a look at some word problems and see if there's an easier way that we can approach them and use our calculator, which is one of our main components here for the exam as well, and try to be as accurate as we can. So I'm going to share our screen here and go into our practice test that you guys are going to be seeing this often when you take your exam, either a GD Ready exam, which is the practice test, or the official test, which will have the screen in here. So today I'm going to go over some of those questions, and then you can see how difficult and challenging they are as you're doing your preparation right now in our class. So I'm going to accept here, and I'll start up. So usually your screen is going to look like this as well when you do that there. And then let's see if we go in here. Okay, so let's take a look at the scenario right here, and then I'll try to do some annotations and some drawings on the screen so you guys can see exactly what I'm looking at, right? So here we have a painter that rented a wallpaper streamer at 9 a.m. So that's the starting point. Return it at 4 p.m. Okay, so you need to always find out what the difference is in time when you go from 9 to 4, right? Think of 4 as like after 12, 4 hours after 12. So that's like 16. So 9 to 16, right? 16 minus 9 is 7 hours. So you got 7 hours in between. Paid a total of $28.84. We want to find out the cost per hour. How do we do that? We take the dollar amount, which is the 28.84, and then per means divide by in the word problem. So that means division. So I'm going to divide by the 7 hours that we use this steamer in here. We're going to go in our calculator. As far as the exam goes, it's going to be 28.84 divided by 7. And I am getting something like 4.12, which it's a pretty good answer here because we do see it on the answer key. So it's a great component. Another thing to keep in mind in here is, I'll clear my drawings here, is that you do have a formula sheet on the official GD exam. So you're going to see this. So we've been talking about geometry lately and how we have like areas, perimeter, circumference. We can go to 3D shapes like volume. So the formulas are all in here. So you will have a formula sheet sitting on top. You will have a calculator on screen, which is the same one as, the one right here. And you can actually use that calculator for the calculations we had here. So it says this calculator is not operational, but during the exam, it'll be operational. So you have the calculator right here. Another thing that you can do on the official exam, if a question is very challenging and you don't want to do it on the spot, you can decide to come back to it by flagging it. So if you click flag for review, you notice there this flag turned yellow, which means at the end of the exam, the computer will notify you that you have flagged some questions for review. And so you can use that remaining time at the end to actually go back to those questions that you skipped and then, do them, right? So that's the flag for review, formula sheet always there, and the calculator is there when we're able to use it. So, okay, next question. we have a question here about expressions that we've been talking about. There's our expression right here. And these are the values that we would like to substitute, as we said in the past couple of weeks here in our class. We always want to take the value of the unknown and then plug it in to the expression. So we have 36x minus 8y squared. We're going to leave the 36 as is. Instead of x, we're going to put a 3. And then instead of y, we're going to put a -6. And then that one has to get squared. Then you go to your calculator. You can type in 36 times 3 first if you like to get 108 minus 8 times, you're going to put your -6 squared in your calculator. You have to remember, as we said before, PEMDAS is priority here. So you want to make sure the parentheses get taken care of first, and then you take care of the exponent. So 8 times 36 is 288. So now we're moving up here, 108 minus 288. And then 108 minus 288, we get -180. And then we go in here trying to find that -180, which is option B. So very careful with substitution questions, because you need to take the value of the unknown, the x, the y, the z, the a, the b, and then replace it into the expression first. And then the next challenge is for you to do the calculations properly. If the calculations are not done properly, then we can have a big issue with the answer. So the parentheses, very much of a priority here. The exponents, a great priority. So we're looking at both of those in the same time. So be careful how you are substituting this on your calculator as well. So, okay, let's take a look at a word problem that we have to translate into, it looks like here, an inequality. So it says Annie's planning a business meeting for her company. She has a budget of $13.25. Now we have to explain here the word budget, right? So when you have a budget, the word budget means you have to stay under a specific amount, right? You have a budget. You're shopping on a budget. Under means less than or equal to. So this gives you a little bit of help as far as the answers go, right? You need to stay under the amount, under budget. So C and D, because they have larger than, well, only actually C in here. So C says larger than, which, we don't want that. And then also A says larger. So you can spend over $1,325, but how much over, right? You can go as much as you want. So that's not a budget. A budget means you have to stay under. So it's either B or D. Now let's take a look at the setup here. So it says you have a meeting room at a local hotel and providing lunch. She expects 26 people to attend. The cost of renting the meeting room is $270. Which inequality shows how to find the amount X Annie can spend on lunch? So if X is your lunch, you're spending lunch on the people that are coming in, right? The more people you have coming in, the more money you're going to spend on lunch. So we have 26 people. We're going to multiply that by the amount of money that was spent on lunch. And then we're going to add this to the $270, which is the fee for the room. That one will not change. It's not attached to X. It has nothing to do with how many people are there, nor with how much money they spend on lunch. The meeting room is $270, empty or not, it's $270. And then you want to make sure now you stay under $1,325. So 26 people times X, the amount of money that we spent on lunch, plus a $270 fee for the room. And that has to stay less than or equal to the 1325. So that's why in this specific scenario, we are going to go with option B. 26 people times X, the amount of money that we spent on lunch, plus the 270, which is the cost of the rent. So a little, challenging, but definitely something that we can manage and be successful at. Okay. Another word problem here that we actually have to solve, we have to complete. So it says Dominic earns $285 per week plus an 8% commission rate on all of his sales, on the sales. The 285, it's set every single week. Now let's see. Let's see, what did he do this week? So he sold $4,213 worth of merchandise. We want to find out the total earnings. So the 8% right here is attached to the sales, right? The $285 is always going to be what he earns. So what we're going to do first is we're going to take the $4,213 and we're going to multiply it by 8%. So a couple of things here. You can write 8% as 0.08 or 8 out of 100. Either way works, but not 8. There's a percent sign attached next to it. So you don't want to write it out as just 8. Once that happens, you're ready to go. You have 4,213 times 8. Then you divide by 100. The answer that we come up with is $337.04. This is the commission on the $4,213 worth of merchandise that he sold. But he still earns plus the $285 a week because that is something that he's earning every week. Right? And that's also like a security blanket. Like, what if he doesn't sell anything one week? It's a slow week. He's still making some money for being there, for trying. So I'm going to add those two together. And when I do, I'm going to get $622.04, which is right there, option D. So Dominic earned $285 a week. That's just a weekly set income. Now, it says plus. So the word plus, you can also think of it, okay, I have to add that 285 to something else. And we have an 8% commission. So we need to utilize this 8% with something else, which would be nothing other than the sales. So since he sold $4,213, we are going to find 8% of the $4,213. How do we find 8% of $4,213? We try to multiply the money with the percentage. And the percentage has to be as a number, not a percentage. So either you divide by 100 or you turn it into a decimal by moving the decimal place twice over to the left, and then you multiply. Once we did that, we found the commission, but we still needed to add that to the set amount of money that he makes on a weekly basis. And then once we add those two together, then we found out the total income that he made that week. So very careful with this problem. It is always something that we should be expecting for the exam. So, okay. The next problem that I want to talk about is this one right here. We have a graph, and pictures are big on this exam, showing us what is going on, finding out highest points, lowest points, patterns, right? So keep in mind things like this. If I have a graph like this point up here a lot of times we call it the maximum. And then this point down here, a lot of times we call it the minimum, right? The highest point, the lowest point. Another thing to keep in mind, when you see something like this, like a chart, this area right here on the left, this area right here, we actually call it an increasing part. It goes up from left to right. And then what happens? You plateau, you reach the maximum, the top of the mountain. And then as you start to come down now, this way, this area right here, we call it decreasing. So when you go up is increasing from left to right, then you're constant or not actually changing, and then you're decreasing, right? So an increase here, a decrease here, flat, we call it constant. Okay, so in this case, it says the graph shows the level of ibuprofen Y units, we can see the Y up here, in a patient's bloodstream X hours after the ibuprofen was taken. So we have to understand this. It's like an Excel spreadsheet. What's down here? What's up here? So down here we have hours, like as time goes by. Up here we have units. Does it make sense? I think so, because when you take some medication, as time goes by, the amount of medication in the bloodstream goes down, right? That's why we have to take it again after 4 hours or after 6 hours, right? So with that in mind, let's see what we have here. So it seems like we reached the maximum number up there, which was a little under the 1 hour mark. And then we reached the lowest point at 8 hours later. And that's why they tell us to take this medication 3 times a day, every 8 hours, right? So let's see the question. The question says the level of ibuprofen in the patient's bloodstream increased, went up. It increased, right? From where to where? Well, we started at 0, right? From 0 hours. And then all the way up to here, all the way up to, maybe right on 3/4 of an hour. So up to 3/4 of an hour. So that's what we're going to select in here. We're not going to select from 1 to 2. Now, once you reach 1, look what happens here. Now you're decreasing, 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 decreasing. So this area to the right is decreasing. You're only increasing up there, so which is like about 40 minutes. And then after that, it's all decreasing, right? So that's what they're saying here. It increased from where? Obviously from 0 all the way to 3/4 of an hour, less than an hour though. This is less than an hour. If you take a closer look to this, the maximum point up there was reached before you hit an hour. So when you select here, if they give you options like 3/4 of an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, you want to go with an answer that is less than an hour. This is a screenshot here, so we can't quite click on it. But again, very, very important component to keep in mind, right? So when we're talking about graphs, we are usually going to be seeing things like this, where we have an X and a Y. These are the 2 unknowns. And then inside this chart, the graph is kind of like moving around. It's not always going to be a straight line. And so the way you read it is from left to right. If from left to right is going up, then we call that an increasing line. If from left to right is going down, we call this a decreasing line. If it's flat, then we call it constant. Not up, not down, just a constant line with no increase and no decrease. So keep that in mind. It'll be very beneficial when you're reading your graphs and you're trying to understand it. And then my last one for today, is our geometry. We have a cone, as you can see here, and I want to show you a little bit how we pull up the formula sheet, right? So we go to the formula sheet right here, and we try to find out where is this cone, where's the cone, and you're like, okay, there it is, right here. This is surface area. This is volume. So they're both good formulas depending on what they're asking us to find. If they ask us to find area, we use the first formula. If they ask us to find volume, we use the second formula. But the formula sheet, very, very beneficial. And it's sitting right here. So when you guys take the official exam, make sure, click on this, pull it out, right? They're also going to give you a laminated sheet of paper with all the formulas in them. And you should probably take that, right? Take the formula sheet and the hands-on calculator instead of on screen, because it's easier to navigate, right? So as you can see here, they are actually asking for the volume of this drinking cup, which means we do want the volume formula. So on that volume formula, they gave us this formula, 1/3 pi r squared times h. And we can take another look at it. We can go in here and say, okay, let me double check. It is right here. That was the cone, and this is the volume formula. So perfect, 1/3 pi r squared times h. We're going to go in here and we're going to write it out, and then we're going to substitute. So it's 1/3 pi r squared h. And we said last week that pi is 3.14. They'll tell you to use this specific pi, which is great. So I'm ready to go here. I can put 1/3 instead of pi. I'll put in 3.14. And then couple of numbers. I know my height is 4 because that's the height of the cylinder, of the cone in here. So I'll put a 4. Problem here is that I want to find the radius. And the radius of a circle, as we said last week, is from the center and out. So from here to there. So I don't need all of this, right? I need half of that whole line. So this is 2 3/4. 3/4 is 0.75. So this is 2.75, the whole thing. I want half of it. So what I'll do is I'll cut it in half. I'll go to my calculator, 2.75 divided by 2, and then I will get 1.375 for the radius. So I'm going to put that in here, 1.375, and then be careful, you must square it. And then I'm ready to go on my calculator. I'm going to put 1 divided by 3 times 3.14 times 1.375 squared times 4. Don't forget to square it. And I get a volume of 7.915416. Repeating, it says to the nearest tenth, which is 1 decimal place. Therefore, I'll cut it right here at 7.9. I'm going to find the answer right here. And that is going to give us pretty much the final answer. So good question. 3D solid. We had a cone. We pulled out the formula. We replaced the givens into the formula, and we were able to solve in here. So with that in mind, you guys try to be practical. Let me know how you feel about these questions. We did a little bit of a pre-algebra, algebra, geometry, and some graph knowledge today, which can help us with understanding. And next week, we are going to give it a try at a practice math GED exam. We'll be sending out your vouchers so you can practice a GED ready math exam and see where you're at before we move on to the second half of our class, which will cover a lot of our science, social studies, and language arts. So nice to see you. Enjoy this video, and I will see you all next time. Bye. Good luck with everything.